Good morning, everyone. It's good to see some folks again so soon after last evening's auction success and fun. Our platform experience this morning is a shared presentation by part of the Officiant team. And I just want to tell you a little bit about the structure of what we're going to do, and then we'll dive in. So we're going to do this in 3 rounds. There'll be some context setting, some storytelling, and then a reflection time, and hence your pen and paper. But I do want to say that, does everybody get a paper and a writing implement? Did anybody not get one? If you could put your hand up, and then Shayla will bring, there's 2 folks over here, Shayla, 1 over there. Thank you very much. So there will be 3 opportunities to reflect on a prompt, and you can write, doodle, dream about your responses. But if that's not for you, if that's not your thing, then you can simply listen to the music that's going to underlay that time, or get up and dance it out if that works for you. This is all about attending to your own needs. So here we go. As we are perhaps experiencing even more acutely than usual right now, there is a persistent need for self-care. And it's because each person deserves to be whole and thriving. And also because we need to fill our own cup, if you will, or the put your own oxygen mask on first metaphor, if we are to be of service to society. And society really needs our care and repair, especially now. So there are a wide variety of self-care practices, either by removing things like distractions, burdensome obligations, toxic relationships, or by adding things, which is any kind of self-care pampering that you might participate in. Some examples include moving. So things like exercise, sports, dancing, massage. Not moving. Silence, stillness, meditation. Connecting with people, playing games, participating in celebrations, being of service. Connecting with non-people, pets, nature, gardening, helping to remove invasives in our front lawn, etc. Nourishment, having comforting foods, cooking, baking, etc. Time away, napping, taking a vacation, or a retreat. Expressing yourself might be journaling, poetry, blogging. Social media is a mixed bag, but there you go. And making art, writing, painting, sculpting, singing, playing instruments, making theater, doing improv, etc. There's lots of options there. And so I think we'll share some stories about some of the self-care practices that work for us.
Hello. Hi, I'm Amy Foltz. One of the things that I love doing to kind of unwind and do care for myself is cultivating creativity. I'm a pretty artistic person, and one of the things I always say that I feel happiest and most like myself when I'm making things with my hands. And that includes art. It also means cooking for people that I love. I'm pretty extroverted, so when I'm around people I love, I just feel that fullness of that cup that we're talking about. It fuels me, and it gives me energy to do more for the people I love and care about.
I'm Emily Newman. I would love to get more into the creative expression. Used to love writing and collaging, but honestly, I feel like my go-to is just soft, comfortable things, be that, getting home and being able to change in my pajamas or cuddle up with a soft blanket, even if it's not freezing out, having that nurturing encompassment of a cocoon, tends to be quite relieving.
So I am Judy still, I think. And I will share a couple of my favorite activities. But before I do that, I kind of want to talk a little bit about this term self-care. So I'm going to go off script here a little bit, or a whole lot, because frankly, I have kind of a problem with this whole thing about self-care. And I know that some other folks do, because we have this idea that we don't deserve self-care.
We're going to talk about that a bit later.
So, yeah, so here I'm going. But so I want to encourage you all to forgive yourself. So, since the topic is our favorites, Emily reminds me that soft is one of my favorite things. I have a couple of bears of varying sizes, and I really enjoy hugging them. This actually is a major self-soothing thing for me, and softness. I have even a sweater that's, I think it's cashmere, that just, I hold on to it rather than wearing it. I think it's too small anyway. But if I rub it gently against my face, I just feel physically better. Singing is my major go-to. I discovered last week, 2 weeks ago, when Perry encouraged us to add a couple of songs to the platform last week, that after rehearsing Wednesday night, I felt so much better. I just felt the connection. And most of the things that I enjoy involve connecting and connection. Much of it at WES, but not all of it.
Great. So now it's your turn. We're going to have time for reflection with some music that'll be playing, because like Judy, music is certainly something that I find very feeds my soul. And so I encourage you to reflect upon, or dance about, or what have you, what makes you feel less stressed and more energized. And we'll have about 2 minutes there, and we'll know we're finished when the music ends.
Out of the fallen trees we sing, sing like we're losing everything, lost and without a place to go. Sing for myself, it's all I know. Born to a brand new century, sing for our sisters patiently. Born to a day that's just begun, sing for our mothers and our sons. We sing for the voices never heard, sing for the lessons we've still not learned, sing for the peace we've never won, sing for the work that's still not done. And if on our darkest days we cry, sing till we put our fears aside. And if I feel myself begin to fold, sing for myself, it's all I know. Sing for myself, it's all I know.
So, part of being human is making mistakes. And that's how we learn and grow. And so, part of self care is giving yourself some grace. A core concept of ethical culture is that everyone has inherent worth as distinct from any social value based upon what you do or produce of great quality or whatever, it doesn't matter. So we encourage here to think about that inherent worth and really build a habit of recognizing that you are worthy, truly, and that you have that inherent worth and dignity, and bring that with you in all engagements. Ethical culture also acknowledges that we each have an inner critic. So that's sort of like angel and devil on your shoulder commenting upon your choices and your actions. And self-care suggests that maybe you stop listening quite so carefully to that inner critic, right? And think about that. Think about some of the messages that you reflect to yourself. And how would you feel if you heard somebody saying that out loud to another person? You would probably be appalled, is my guess. You might even offer a counter message and some care to the person that just heard that negative thing. And you might really positively engage with the person that has that negative commentary and say, maybe that was a little harsh. Maybe we could dial that down a little bit. So why not do that for yourself? Right? Try and disengage that inner critic. When it pops up, just be like, that's its opinion. It has nothing to do with me, and let it go. And instead, try and see if you can find an inner champion and let that self-affirmation be the louder voice inside your head and heart. And this is also part of that notion that we all deserve self-care. We are allowed to take what we need and let go of what we do not. So, another thing to do is to just celebrate your resilience and the ability to persist in the face of setbacks. And this includes small steps like handling those things that you can control and recognizing some things that may be beyond the scope of your influence at a particular point in time. Maybe later you can influence that, but not right now. And also just finding the motivation to keep going, regardless of the quality of the outcome. From your inherent worth, recognize when you are acting upon a value that is important to you, or just existing is enough. So how all do we deal with these kinds of messages? Perhaps.
I think all of us, as we were trying to figure out what to do for this platform, it felt a little discomfort, uncertainty of like, oh no, I'm not the one to tell you how to recover, recharge. I'm not doing a great job. Or I have a lot more that I would love to learn from other folks. And I think we kind of individually needed to take a breath and go, no one expects us or needs us to be perfect. Not everything that works for me is going to work for you, and vice versa. We're here to support you all and gain support in the process of life. And that means throwing out options and recognizing that there are different opportunities and you'll be ready for them at different times. And I think a lot about the thinking about what I can control, because there is so much in the world that I can't control, and I would give up if I focused on that and not get anything done, which would not be good for myself or other people around me. And I think that especially anybody who gets overloaded by what's it called, like decision paralysis or fear of making the wrong decision, seeing a big task, it's very important to figure out how to break it down. You're not gonna, swallow a steak whole. You're gonna cut it up into bite-sized pieces. You can use that in vegetarian, vegan metaphors. It just, we all know steak is hard to chew. And and not beat ourselves up when there's a misstep. And I wanted to also just say that one of those small things that I make sure to practice regularly is appreciation and recognition. Because again, it's a small thing in terms of thank you, 2 words, but it sticks in a person's mind. It resonates. And I feel like, again, all of the officiants we're aware of, it's been a tough month. We're only halfway through. WES itself has a lot going on this weekend alone. And so I really appreciated the way that Amy jump-started and gave us a couple of different options. So kind of like narrowing down this broad concept. And then and Karen then jumped in with a lot of musical selections to help direct us and kind of get a little into our feels about what we'd like to share. And Judy jumped in with saying, like, here's a Zoom link so we can talk it out. And she and I both tried to make sure that we addressed the different ideas brought up so that we could all mesh what we were able to do together and no one felt the burden of doing everything.
So things that have helped me just in a broad sense have to do with the language that I use. That's really critical. And I tend to go with humor and little short quips. But so, language. Hey, what's your language? English, what's yours? That's very much Judy. Another thing, though, that a phrase that really helps me is done is better than perfect. And I try to recite that to myself often when I'm in the middle of something. Done is better than perfect. I have found that learning a new framework for things is really helpful to me. One of the tools that has helped me to do that, you may be familiar with, nonviolent communication. I brought props because, toys and things, because that's kind of what I do. I go with visual aids. But nonviolent communication focuses on thoughts and feelings. Feelings and needs, and boils it down to we all have a whole set of basic human needs like love and caring and mutual respect. Shared reality is one that I enjoy a lot, but that recognizes how we all really at our core share an awful lot of things. Some of us have better strategies than others for trying to achieve those things. The other framework that's been really helpful to me is the parent encouragement program that started out in Kensington, Maryland, that's where I learned about it, is based on Adlerian psychology, different Adler, not Felix. And that at the core of that is that we are all striving to belong. And again, people have different kinds of strategies, some more resourceful than others. So this idea of, the inherent worth of everyone and I can talk about another thing, but for me, what helps is developing a deeper understanding of what makes us all and each human. So that's what I want to say about that.
My soapbox about overcoming your inner critic comes from a creative point of view, but I do think it's broadly applicable to any skill that you're really trying to develop. And that's when you're first starting out, whether it's doing music or art or activism, you are wanting to get engaged with that skill because you are inspired by people who have done it amazingly well. And as you're trying to start a practice, your taste is going to outpace your skill. You're always going to feel, if you're comparing your, intro to drawing work to a Van Gogh or a Rembrandt, you're going to get discouraged really fast. But if you just immerse yourself in what drew you to whatever it is you're trying to develop, if you immerse yourself in what feels good about doing that work, you're going to enjoy it a lot more than if you're just trying to compare it to people who have expert level skill. You're not an expert yet. You're going to mess up. You're going to make ugly art. That is the best advice I have ever gotten about making art. Just enjoy making stuff that doesn't look very good. And eventually you're going to find out what you enjoy making, and it's going to look great.
So Amy actually touched on, in fact, used a word that I find helpful when the inner critic gets going, and the word is yet. And so I, am not expert or even any good at such and such yet. And maybe I will never be particularly good at it. But when I get critical of myself, if I put it in that framework of what is my current ability, so Amy and I think have a very similar path in terms of that, of where am I now? And that is just fine. It is enough. It is good for now. It might be good for forever. Maybe I'll get better down the line, but it doesn't matter right now. I'm not good at it yet, and I am at wherever I am with something. And that is sometimes how I manage the inner critic. So now it's your turn to reflect. And I encourage you to think about noticing what things trigger that inner critic, and think about what messages can you give yourself instead. I guess an addendum to the trigger is, if you notice what triggers you, maybe there are ways to not engage with that too. Not always, but sometimes maybe we can disengage with our triggers, and we can substitute in other options, responses.
I messed up tonight. I lost another fight. Lost to myself, but I'll just start again. I keep falling down. I keep on hitting the ground, but I always get up now to see what's next. Birds don't just fly, they fall down and get up. Nobody learns without getting it wrong. I won't give up, no, I won't give in until I reach the end. everything. Try everything.
So sometimes we get overwhelmed. It happens. I think a lot of us are feeling a bit that way right about now. So one thing that seems to be helping is just sharing how we are feeling. And part of that is just to vent it out, no need to keep that all bottled up. But also when we discover that we are not alone, that can help to ease our anxiety or sense of powerlessness. And in finding those connections, we also discover that others have ideas or inspirations available that didn't occur to us. And so it's oh, that's what you do, or that's what you know. That helps. Thanks so much. And that kind of sharing and co-learning builds our capacity for self-care. Also, we should remind ourselves that there is no shame in asking for help. And if you consider how good it feels when you're able to help someone else, right? That feels really great when you're able to do that. And so letting someone help you is actually a mutual gift of self-care and confidence building. And so by helping others and by being helped, we build really strong bonds, and therefore our collective power increases. And so then this, as well as self-care, converges with social repair. And we can all act from a deeper well of capacity, a greater sense of connectivity and belonging, and more confidence that we can shape the world to be this more positive, affirming, inherent worth-inducing and supporting place in which to live and be. So, any collective engagement exercises or activities that have worked for you?
Yeah. I definitely have to say that it was engagement with WES that got me through the major part of the pandemic. I really, really, really relied on community. And so Zoom platform addresses and, well, for me, being really involved in making that happen. So connection. Ned Hallowell, who's an ADHD guru, talks about his favorite vitamin C, which is connection. Another important C is compassion, particularly self-compassion. Again, that's about acknowledging that you are human and imperfect, and it, again brings that done is better than perfect. So for me, making connections, but also sort of the format of, for lack of a better term, sort of group, not group therapy, but groups that acknowledge things that are important to us. I participate in an online, we call it meditation group, but, and we do usually a brief, not always meditation, and I have a whole thing about what constitutes meditation, and it doesn't mean emptying your mind, which is a confusion that many people have. Anyway, but doing something relaxing, something that just sort of centering, and making a practice of doing that as regularly as possible. Even if it's 5 minutes, I find that's something that allows me to be more compassionate towards others, when I'm gentler with myself, because that inner critic is pretty loud. Another Judy phrase, don't believe everything you think. But sharing those things, like Karen says, out loud with other people, and even just having them say it back. Oh, you said, blah, 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 blah. It's like, I said that? Boy, that's pretty smart. But connecting with people is really the thing that does it for me.
Yeah, I have two examples of connecting with people that yielded lovely results that I was not expecting. So one, in preparation for the WES's auction, I was avoiding entering all of the awesome donated items because I was worried that it was a lot more work and I was going to have to input each one individually. And when I was talking about it with Sarah Morris, she was like, oh no, we just import the spreadsheet. I can do that for you. And I just I literally felt this weight off of my back, because not only was it going to be a easier task, but then someone else was willing to do it. And I could, and that was my, kind of a big wake up call for me too, of to share what I was scared of or avoiding, because maybe it's not what someone else is scared to deal with. And then the second thing is I had an impromptu girls' night on Friday, because we've been missing each other. Plans have failed. And so even though we were planning for something in the future, someone was like, how about tonight? And initially I was going to say no, because I was tired and I was worried about being cranky and not being sociable. But it was so healing for all of us, because not only did we realize that a lot was going on in all of our lives that we didn't know about, but the talking about it and getting that reassurance of oh, you're not crazy. That person's crazy. Or, do you need to take on all of these things? Could you maybe say no? It was, again, such a weight off my shoulder, because it also allowed me to both be in the role of getting healing and support and giving it. So I was able to make sure they didn't feel alone. And also we got free snacks.
That's another good self-care thing, free snacks.
So I really appreciated what Judy said about not believing everything you think, because I am particularly struggles with that sometimes. I'll have this really scary, bad, overwhelming thought, and I will attach to it and let it ruin my week sometimes. So what I've been working on is finding ways to hold that scary thought and let it show me what I want to work on and what I actually want to do. So I will give you an example. A lot of you may be familiar with my background. I spent the first 19 years of my life in the evangelical church. And so with the recent election results, I had this horrible, despairing feeling of oh God, I can never actually escape the evangelical church. And I let that just weigh so heavy on my heart for a few days. And then I just kind of sat with it and I looked at it and I said, what could I do with this? And it reminded me of all of the people in my life who share that background, who need support right now very badly. And it reminded me that no, actually, I did get out, and I am helping other people who have that baggage and religious trauma recover. It reminded me of how dedicated I am to the Recovering from Religion support group that another WES member and I run here at WES on Wednesdays at WES after dinner. So it just reminded me of there's lots of work to do, and I want to be involved in doing it.
That's great. So WES has something of a reputation of being a collection of non-joiners. And because a lot of folks come here, I think we're all relatively independent-minded people, have had some experiences that coming from environments that didn't affirm that, and so are a little kind of eschewing, like, I don't want to be, I'm not buying into you or whatever. But and I had not as maybe traumatic experience, but similarly, like, grew up in a religious tradition where the theology did not work for me when I left the church, but what I missed was the collectivity of it all. And so I find for me that being in, I gravitate to collective action, to collaboration and how I go about my work, et cetera, et cetera. And so I had a really interesting cross-pollination experience just over these last few weeks, because I work for a senior living community that has a very similar profile to WES. Like, you all have doppelgangers in the place where I work. I mean, seriously, like my first community meeting, I was like, oh, and there's so-and-so, and there's so-and-so, and where is, wait for it, and there they are, right? So it's fabulous, right? Like, I get to live in that kind of environment in multiple places. And, but the community there was very much also kind of building dread toward the election and what have you. And so as a senior leadership team, we were talking about that. And I was like, well, what if we just acknowledge that people are feeling anxious and maybe not being their best selves? Because what we were noticed is people were kind of like acting out and misbehaving, if you will, and it was causing all kinds of negative ripple effects. And so we had a community meeting already scheduled, and so our CEO just said, like, I just want to acknowledge this is a really challenging time. And you could hear the audible sigh of relief in the room. And that, and so, like, let's give each other grace. And so I think what it did is it also de-escalated some of the misbehavior, if you will. And people then also were not as reactive to it when it happened. And so I really feel like being able, and some of it, and we talked about other things. And so some of the things that I've learned here at WES, I've been able to share into other places that have had, beneficial application in other spaces. And so, and I've taken things from other places, and, we bring things here to WES that we've learned as well. So I think that idea of there's lots of wisdom out there, and we can choose the pieces that work for us and share them with each other. And some will work for us and some won't, collectively or individually. But that ability to really draw on collective wisdom, I find extremely helpful. So, your turn. This is our last reflection in this period. So I encourage you to think about noticing what ways are you struggling and could benefit from some intervention and assistance. I encourage you to unpack sort of why you've been reluctant to ask for help, and maybe identify someone you can ask to lend a helping hand or simply a listening ear.
No need to question our connection. Let go of all the doubts on your mind. We gotta keep moving in the same direction. And whether good or bad, we can make this right. You should let me know, let me know. We just keep on treading nice. If you feel you're hurting, you should let me know. Let me know. We just keep on treading on these fault lines. I've reached my threshold, and we can't let go. Searching for that signal, so we can find love. And I'll give you every part of me. If we stick together, we'll be free. And we'll keep on, just keep. I've reached my threshold, and we can't let go. Searching for that signal, so we can find love. I've reached my threshold, and we can't let go. Searching for that signal, so we can find love.
So just to wrap up, we really hope that these personal perspectives and the opportunity to reflect on these prompts have helped you to tap into some of the benefits of self-care and some examples of how you might bring that into your life. The piece of paper that you were handed on your way in, on the one side has a sort of a checklist. This is not meant to be a to-do list. We're not imposing directives. But maybe more of a cheat sheet, if you will, just a few examples of things that you might, your mileage may vary, but some examples of things you might take on board or try, and simply as a reminder to put yourself first, at least now and again. Since part of self-care is making connections, we have a suggestion for an immediate way to practice this. And it's something that we're going to try to repeat each week at Platform for a little while. So this is an experiment. But at the end of Platform, you are encouraged to find someone you don't already know especially well, maybe even someone you don't know at all yet, and strike up a conversation. And don't let that be scary, because we have a suggestion. So talk about your favorite self-care practice. And you might discover you have that in common. You might discover they do something that you've always wanted to know more about. They might want to know more about your thing, what have you. So go ahead and have those conversations. And then also on your way out, on the doors at the back of the hall are a whole bunch of Post-it notes. Feel free to look around and take one home for you as a reminder. You can stick it on your mirror, wherever you're likely to see it now and again, just to remind you of a self-care practice. So thank you, and we wish you all good mental health.